Hey, what's up everyone? It's Rob with Instinct Bassin, and today we're on the famous Florida Stick Marsh and it's mid-December. The water is stained and 74 degrees, and our goal for the day is to catch 5 bass that total 15 pounds in 7 hours of fishing time. Let's see if we can get it done. The Stick Marsh is a 6,400 acre shallow water flooded farm located near Fellsmere, Florida. The predominant cover is submerged grass, hydrilla, and stumps. It's a catch and release only lake, and while it may not be the bucket list lake it once was, it still holds a good population of big bass. I started my day at 7 a.m. by running to the main point on the lake, hoping to intercept some big bass on their way to spawn. I started by throwing a Megabass Pop Max topwater and a Spro rock crawler crankbait. The deepest part of the lake is about 20 feet and it's just north of this point. Unfortunately, after about 30 minutes I didn't have a bite. It was a little too choppy for the Pop Max, and I decided to make a move to this rock wall that used to hold up 2 irrigation pipes for the old farm. I started by throwing a black and blue Strike King swim jig with a Reaction Innovation Sweet Beaver trailer. On my second or third cast, I cast near a small stick up and I hooked into my first keeper of the day. It was a healthy fish weighing in at just over 2.5 pounds. A swim jig is a great bait for covering water, but can still be fished slow along the bottom as well. A jig is a big bass bait, and I was hoping to be able to throw it all day and get 5 quality bites. I fished around the wall for another 30 minutes with the jig and rock crawler, but couldn't get another bite, so I made a short run to the south end of the lake to fish this large flat with submerged eelgrass topping out in about 4 feet of water. A swim jig is one of the best lures for fishing through and around eelgrass. It comes through relatively clean, and when it does get a little hung, giving it a short jerk will clear it and can generate a reaction strike. If you've ever struggled with what to fish through submerged grass, give a swim jig a try. It didn't take long before I started getting bit in this large grass flat, and I quickly had a limit of 5 bass before 9 a.m. Unfortunately, even though I was throwing a big bass lure, all the fish seemed to be close to 2 pounds. Which is certainly fun, but it wasn't going to help me with the 15-pound challenge I set for myself, so I decided to make a short run to a nearby point. This point was right next door, but held a few more stick-ups and wood for bass to hide around and gave me some more visible targets to cast to. I was confident I was throwing the right bait to generate a bite from a bigger fish, so I kept throwing the swim jig while mixing in some other baits like a paddle tail super fluke and a shallow diving crankbait. But the jig seemed to be the ticket to getting bit. I caught a few more 2-pounders, but the fish were starting to all look the same, and I still wasn't getting the quality I needed to make any big upgrades. I decided to go fish something completely different and headed across the lake to a pump house surrounded by chunk rock. I threw the jig, but also tried a Z-Man Fatty Z on a shaky head along with a shallow diving crankbait. This pump house dock is in shallow water, but has a steep drop-off into about 15 feet in front of it. I tried the jig, shaky head, and rock crawler around the pilings and the drop-off, and around the chunk rock on either side, but unfortunately couldn't get a bite, and after about 30 minutes decided it was time to make another move. I figured I would go back to the south end grass flat where I was getting bit before, but that I would try a different lure to see if that would help generate a bigger bite. I tied on a 3/4 ounce green pumpkin Z-Man chatterbait with a green pumpkin Sweet Beaver trailer. A chatterbait is also good for fishing through eelgrass, although I don't feel it comes through quite as clean as the swim jig. At any rate, I did get bit on the chatterbait, and it ended up being a quality fish weighing just over 2.5 pounds. Still not the big bite I needed, but it was a little bigger than the 2-pounders I was catching earlier. Even though this fish was a little bigger, I just felt the better quality fish were still waiting to come into this area. So with about an hour left in the day, I decided to make one last move. I know they say not to leave fish to find fish, but these weren't the quality bass I needed to total 15 pounds. So I went to the spillway area still looking for bigger fish. This area has rock and grass and has a little deeper water as well. I still threw the jig, but also mixed in a Carolina rigged Zoom lizard. I didn't get any bites here with the jig, but while dragging the lizard across the bottom, I thought I was hung in some weeds. While popping it free, I saw my line start heading to the surface, and I realized it was a nice bass. It broke the surface, and when I saw its head, it looked like the one I needed to push past the 15-pound mark. I pulled it in, and unfortunately it was all head and no body. It had a 5-pounder head, but only ended up weighing a little less than 3.5 pounds. Still a nice fish, and it helped, but still wasn't the kicker I was looking for. So it was a fun day, but I fell short of the 15-pound goal I set for myself and only ended up with just under 13 pounds. If that last fish was a little fatter and healthier, I think I would have made it. While it certainly wasn't a perfect day, I'm confident I was using the right baits to catch bigger fish. Sometimes it just doesn't happen. If I could do anything different, it might be to try going shallower and seeing if there were any big ones way up shallow. Or maybe going out to the edge of the grass line and dragging the Carolina rig there. Other than that, we'll get them next time. Thanks for watching. Remember to trust your gut and see you on the water.